In that farmhouse, I came face to face with darkness, and there was nowhere to run. What would you do? Watch if you dare. Talking about this still sends chills down my spine. Most of my childhood was spent on a remote desert farm in Arizona. The farm was old, with creaky wooden floors and musty walls. Even as a kid, I could sense something was off, as if an old presence lurked within those walls. My family always whispered about an ancient curse haunting that place. They called it the Grey Witch, and the story haunted us as we lived in the house's shadows. One night, one of the most terrifying nights of my life, I was lying in bed while rain pattered against the window, creating a haunting melody in the dark. As I lay there, I heard a strange noise coming from the attic, a shuffling sound. At first, I brushed it off as just the wind or creaky old wood. But when the noise got closer, heading toward the corridor, my heart started racing. A cold dread washed over me, as if slow, deliberate footsteps were coming closer to my room. I sat up in bed, straining to listen, my body frozen with fear. I wanted to get out of bed, but as the eerie footsteps grew louder, I felt paralyzed. Suddenly, at the end of the hallway, I saw a shadow. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but the shadow grew clearer. It was staring at me, inching closer with each passing moment. I blinked, hoping it would disappear, but it didn't. The figure's features were vague, but its eyes were two dark voids, locked onto me. The creature whispered, "You're here now, and you're not getting out." The coldness in its voice was so intense that I felt my heart pound as if it was going to burst. I wanted to run, but my body was like stone. All I could do was stare back at that shadow, feeling its terrifying gaze. At that moment, I was torn between closing my eyes and hoping it would go away, or finding some strength to run. But I couldn't do either. My eyes stayed fixed on those haunting eyes, pulling me in. As it drew closer, each breath became harder to take. The cold air around me was draining every bit of warmth from my body. Then, the shadow slowly lifted its hand, reaching toward my face. A scream was caught in my throat, but no sound came out. When it touched my face, I felt a freezing, hollow pain, like it was draining all the life from me. My eyes shut tight, and I heard that chilling whisper again. "There's no escape. I'll take your soul." My body wouldn't respond. It was as if I was sinking deeper into an icy grip. In the midst of my panic, the only thing that surfaced was an old prayer I'd learned as a child. My lips moved softly, barely muttering the words. As I did, the figure seemed to shudder, almost as if afraid. In that brief hesitation, I gathered all my strength, stood up, and ran. The hallways echoed with whispers and distant footsteps behind me. "You can't leave." Each step filled me with more fear, but I was also fueled by a strange resolve. I hurried down the stairs, feeling as if my body was racing the wind. I finally reached the front door and threw myself outside. The rain hit my face as goosebumps rose on my skin, but at that moment I realized that the Grey Witch was still watching me, and I knew that this story wasn't over.